Parents, colleagues, partners, good morning, welcome, and thank you so much for your time on a Saturday morning. I'm really excited to spend some time this morning introducing ISP, introducing some thought leadership to you as well, and also introducing you to our schools. So it's going to be a really exciting morning, and we really appreciate you joining us. Let me just start by, so I'm just trying to move on to the next slide, just give me a moment. So the first thing I wanted to mention really, I think it was Aristotle that said that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And at ISP, I think that's entirely true. I think essentially we are an organisation of 7,000 committed colleagues globally, working in partnership day in, day out, for the focused entirely on learning for the benefit of our students and families. That's really what our focus is as an organisation, really about getting better and focusing on learning and working in partnership to deliver that for your children. So if you look at ISP, you know, as a schools group, we're fast growing. We are the largest private schools group here in Malaysia, and we're the fastest growing schools group in the world. But what does that practically mean to you as parents and families? I think the first thing which is important is mobility. You know, if you're a family in Ipoh or Penang or Johor Bahru and you relocate to Kuala Lumpur, we have a school that will be different, but will share the same focus on learning, and it will feel familiar. So we're able to offer that practical mobility to our parents should they move in and around the country. But also, I think what happens as being part of ISP and our network of schools globally is it opens up for your children literally a world of opportunity. We have schools in almost every continent, and that provides so much opportunity for our children to engage in that global experience. So really it's that mobility, that's a great benefit, but also that opportunity for our students to have that world of opportunity. So let me just spend a little bit of time talking about the benefits of our schools being part of ISP, that partnership. I'll start with learning, and at ISP, learning is always first. That's the beginning and indeed the end for us as an organisation. Many schools and many individual schools have a focus on teaching, but we believe that a focus on learning is important because actually learning is what makes our children successful, learning now and learning in the future. We'll get onto this later, but essentially 70% of young people that join our schools today, any school today, will end up working in a career that doesn't exist yet. So that's why we have a focus on learning, because we have to be able, as individuals and young people, to focus on learning, not just today, but every day, because the world requires us to be prepared to learn on an ongoing basis. So essentially, learning is what we're all about. That's what drives us. That's what's in our DNA. You see the evidence of our learning in our results, but really the focus on individual children learning and getting better every day is what really sets ISP apart. So your children being part of our schools really will focus on learning, will focus on getting better, and we'll be better prepared for the world as a result. When you look at ISP as an organisation, I mentioned the 7,000 highly committed colleagues we have globally. What happens as a parent or as a family or a student is you're getting access to that world of opportunity. And what that practically means is access to expertise. So if you look at our schools in this region and beyond, they're able to rely on a network of highly committed colleagues that are there to support their schools day in, day out. So if you look at our schools here in Malaysia, there is a regional team of over 20 colleagues across a range of areas supporting our schools on a daily basis. Being part of something bigger means we have the scale and the resources to support our schools in ways that smaller school groups or individual schools can't do. So if you look at something like well-being and counselling, clearly it's been a challenging time for young people as they navigate online learning, but we've been able to bring our network of counsellors to bear to support those students in our schools. And those are the kind of things that we can do at scale, which other schools find difficult. Again, if you look at COVID in terms of our scale and our expertise, we were able to prepare our schools because we have colleagues in London, here in the region, in our schools that are experts in health and safety and safeguarding. So we were able to put SOPs in place that were much enhanced from the government requirements. Our schools were highly commended by the MOE, and our best practice for school SOPs were shared with the wider school community in Malaysia by the MOE. And simply we're able as a group to provide that level of safeguarding and support as a result of our scale. Also, we've got experts within our organisation that are there to help our schools day in, day out. So we have a director of learning, we have a director of online learning, we have a director of blended learning. We have all of these experts that are there to help design and support our schools with a curriculum, whether it's in person in school, whether it's online, whether it's blended. We have that access to those resources and those talented colleagues for the benefit of our students. It's really important. We've got facilities and design experts to ensure that when we invest in our schools, we're able to ensure that our facilities facilitate strong learning. So really, the scale of ISP provides many, many opportunities that I think a single school may struggle to offer. Cultural learning opportunities. We've got a range of cultural opportunities that I'll talk about later, where our students are able to engage online with many of their counterparts in different parts of the ISP world for the benefit of their learning. There's many, many different cultural opportunities here in Malaysia, whether that's through our cross-curricular activities, engaging with our different schools here in Malaysia, or beyond in our global network. Again, those are things that we offer as a group of scale. Investment. We are a financially secure schools group of scale. That means that we have the resources, even in the toughest times, such as today, to be able to invest in our schools and campuses for the benefit of our students and their learning. So whilst it's been a difficult year, we're able this year to make investments in our early years facilities. We're able to make investments in our IT and infrastructure, all of the things that you don't see but are really important in this online world. And we're also able to make investments in our buildings and our facilities. So again, as a group of scale, we're able to do those things that many schools will struggle with this year, and that's because we're financially secure and a large group. International mobility is an area that I'd like to come on to later, but I mentioned before is that there's literally a world of opportunity in almost every continent for our students. So if you look at our accreditation and affiliations as a group of schools here in Malaysia, I think we can be judged by the company that we keep. I mentioned before that the MOE has highly commended our schools and shared our best practice around COVID with other schools in Malaysia, given the work that we've done this year. If you look at our results, so our GCSE results this year, I'm pleased to say that of our graduating cohort this year, over 70 of our students in our schools got entirely A and A-star grades in their GCSEs, which is a real testament to the quality of learning that's delivered in our schools. Also, the British High Commission this week invited our schools group to launch the BBC's Blue Ocean strategy for Malaysia. So the David Attenborough videos and the Malay translation of those videos across Malaysia. When they wanted to engage with schools, the first place they came to was ISP and the Asia Pacific and the Tenby schools here in Malaysia, because our students have a reputation for their knowledge and their expertise and their care for the environment, and also their ability to engage in those fora. So that's been a very exciting week for those students and schools. But essentially, I think it's been an excellent year, and I think you can see that we as a group are engaged and connected with the strongest partners globally. I mentioned global opportunities a couple of times. I think this is something that I really want to kind of emphasize. Being a student or a family engaged in one of our schools in Malaysia opens up a world of opportunities for your children. One of the most obvious ones that we have is our ISP Buddy Exchange program. So we've had online exchanges this year for obvious reasons. But in the past, we've had many of our Malaysian students go to different parts of the world, to the Americas, to the Middle East, to Europe. When I joined ISP myself, I went to visit one of our schools in Madrid, in Spain, and I met a young Spanish man who was 16. And in addition to talking about football, we talked about his life-changing experience of spending his exchange program here in Malaysia in Ipoh. He talked a lot about how welcoming Malaysia was, how friendly his host family was, how they took him to different places in Malaysia where he got to experience the culture, the history, the heritage, but importantly, the food. And it was a life-changing experience for him. And to be honest, the last thing I thought I would be doing in Madrid is talking about the city of Ipoh. But it just goes to show is that the world of opportunity is there for our students as part of our family of ISP schools, that we have our students in Ipoh spending time in Madrid and vice versa. It's just a fantastic opportunity for our students to engage globally. Every year we run a Model United Nations program. Next year we'll have a program in Dubai where we'll have students from over 30 different countries engaging in person in that Model United Nations program in our schools in Dubai. Again, a fantastic opportunity for our students to engage globally. And the other thing that we're able to offer as ISP is the opportunity to spend the summer somewhere different and interesting. So we have summer camps in different parts of the world. This year, for example, we'll have a summer camp in New Orleans in the USA. So again, many of our students are able to go to a partner school and experience something life-changing as part of their journey in our schools at ISP. So this just gives you a sense of all of the different learning opportunities. It gives you a sense of the range. So essentially our children from as young as 5 or up until 18 can be engaged in these opportunities. These can be in an overseas country involving travel, or these can increasingly be online opportunities as well. So if you look at our maths challenge here, we had over 4,000 of our Malaysian school students engage in that ISP maths challenge, which is fantastic. So we've got something for every child, whether it's overseas or online or here in Malaysia, for them to broaden their learning opportunities and outlook. So that's all I wanted to say for now, and really it's my pleasure and privilege to introduce you to Andrew Chow, who is our guest speaker today. Andrew is a PR, a social media guru, a best-selling author, and I think he's better known as Ideas Andrew in his home of Singapore. And we're very lucky today to have Andrew with us to talk to us about how he can share some insights on how our children can match their talent and skills for that future workforce. So Andrew, welcome to this ISP inaugural webinar. Thank you so much for your time this morning. And I think we're really looking forward to your thought leadership and insights this morning. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much for having me. I have a lot of friends in Malaysia. My name is Andrew Chow, and before this COVID happened, I am always traveling to KL once a month. So I'm really kind of disappointed that I couldn't visit KL, which is like my second home. So let me now share my screen. So just do a check. Is everybody seeing the cover slides? And now I'm talking about my books. I have 3 books, and this presentation will be available for download to all the parents after this, including, I think, the video. I wrote 3 books in the last 4.5 years. And really my life, my own life, it's a life of transformation. So I have 5 or 6 different careers in the last 33 years. So after my days of serving the army, as you know, in Singapore, we serve the army. And in 1987, I became a civil servant and I was doing research. And after 6 years, I decided that I'm not much of a civil servant. I want to join the private sector. And I joined this company called Kodak. Now, I'm not sure if any one of you have ever taken a picture using the old technology, the negative technology. If you have, you've been around for a long time, because that was what Kodak was famous for. but Kodak didn't transform fast enough, and it went downhill in the late 90s, and I changed career again. I went into another business to do events, MICE, B2B events for 6 years. In 2005, I transformed again and I became a matchmaker. Yes, you heard me correctly. I became a matchmaker. If you Google my name on YouTube, you will find a lot of my events, a lot of my press reports all on there. So those 4 years were wonderful. Those were the pre-social media days. And of course, in 2010, I switched again because I know that social media will one day kill my business. So it's true that today everyone goes online to look for a partner and nobody is keen to look for a third party. And I went into this adult learning, which is where I'm doing right now. And I love traveling around the world to share knowledge. And last year I have a media startup. So just to give you a bit of background, these are the places I've been to for the last few years. It's wonderful. So now for the keynote proper, I want to impress upon you guys that the timeline for the last 40 years has actually doubled every 5 years. So every 5 years, you see the pace changes a lot. So in the 80s was the last time that we can relax, we can take everything as optional. I remember those days in the 80s, computer knowledge was optional. And when Microsoft was launched, Windows 3.0 in the 1990s, and then with Mac, everything changes. So the computer world enters and was full bloom in 1990 to the year 2010, where a lot of social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Google, emerged. So, and of course, Apple took off, right, with iPad and their iPhone. So that 20 years really was transforming business, and there's a lot of e-commerce going on. But in 2010 to 2015 was actually 5 years of consolidation because the world was now focusing on AI, artificial intelligence, and it becomes cheaper to employ AI simply because of two reasons. One is the tremendous reduction of costs for computing power and massive availability of data. So in 2015 to 2020, there was a huge explosion on machine learning, on natural language processing. If you don't know all these terms, I'll explain to you later on. But now we are in exactly the crossroad 2020. And what a year, we have COVID. So COVID didn't spark off digital transformation. COVID has always been there for this year, and it actually helps all of us to speed up the rate of transformation. Now, what happens in 2025 to 2030 is anybody's guess, but you can be sure that time doubles. So this is another slide I want to show you, the industrial revolution from 1.0, which is 1750, when we have the first factory near the riverside, where it's entirely powered by steam. It took only 150 years for 2.0 to happen, where we invented electricity when everything is powered by lightning and lights, bulbs, and so on. But it takes another 77 years to have 3.0, the computer age. Now, judging at the speed right now, it took 19 years, all right? It took 19 years to become 4.0. And right now, it looks like, 38 years, right, to have 4.0, the AI age, the machine learning age, the big data age. Now, what happens? When will 5.0 be happening? I believe it's before 2040. I don't know how old will our kids be, but at 2040, life will be so much more easier, and we will do much more less work, and our jobs will be made up of a lot of roles. So, considering the amount of transformation that we have, we can either swim, surf, or sink. So what is it going to be for us? Today, we're going to learn how to surf digital transformation with ease. But first of all, let's define what is transformation. It's just two words: change, shape. You have to reinvent, you have to flatten everything and start all over again. Every rule that you can ever think of has to be challenged. Everyone who has skills to get them to where they are today will not get them to where they want to be in the future. And that is important because for our kids, we can't really share our experience with them because our experience for the last 30 years can be compressed and encapsulated into the next 3 years, because the next 3 to 5 years is going to be much more improvement than we have in the last 30 years. And trust me, it is coming. It is already here. China and US is having a trade war, but the trade war is actually determined by the technology divide. Both countries wanted to be the leader in 5G and the AI world. All right, so there are four things that every parents, every kid must do. That's number one, you must have self-leadership. Take it upon yourself to set a new vision, see a new future, because what got us here, all right, cannot get us to where we want to be. Think about what the future is. Now, a lot of people like to use the word new normal. You heard about the word new normal? I don't really like the word new normal because I think what the word that we should be using is the next future. The next future has hope, has inspiration, has all the influence that we are going to have to do a lot more in the future than we have in the present. Therefore, we need to have a new mission. We need to tell our kids to do different things. We need to let them decide for themselves. We need to let them be explorer. We can't just let them be a follower. We can't just encourage them to be a professional, because a professional will take a different meaning in the future. So some of the core values you have to change. Lifelong learning is no longer just a desirable thing. It is essential. One of the core values is really connecting with people, transparency, because that is really what is important. All right, and I'm sure a lot of us are in a corporate world and we need to create a new culture. So people of the future will never work for companies that doesn't have a culture to empower people. And that is what we need to know of the future of digital transformation. Culture is the new employer branding. The next thing, U stands for unleash the power of technology. We have to learn different technology, and there is basic technology today. In the future, there will no longer be called technology, it's just platform. So, for example, we have to learn how machine, how robots, how chatbots really think, and we call them AI. It's simply the mimicking of how our human brain works. And next thing is, what we call experience as human being, it's what machine call machine learning, right? So the more you interact, the more you feed him with data, the more they learn about probability, the more they can make decisions, all because of data. And when machine can help you, you will always hear words like robotic process automation in blogs, in newspapers. They are really about robots being there to help. Some of them are more human than the others. Some of them are stationary. And last but not least, how the machine works really depends on the engineers that program it, and we call it algorithm. So algorithm is the father of learning, the father of information, and also the father of manipulation. A lot of social media platforms today are working on algorithm. They decide what you want to see, when you need to see it, and who you need to see it from. So imagine we live in a world that we have less and less control. So if we have less and less control, it leads me to the third point. We have to review our data transformation. Why do we need data? We need data because it is the most expensive thing in the world. Data lead us to wisdom. And what do we mean by that? But before I go on to explain to you how data transform the wisdom, there are 5 things about data that you need to know. What is the value? Where is it coming from? How much data do we need? What are the format that we are getting data from? And last but not least, how fast are data coming in? So we need massive power. We need to learn how to collate information. Data create a lot of jobs. In the future, there'll be data scientists, there'll be data explorer, there'll be data generator, there'll be data miners. So there are a lot of new jobs. So instead of thinking about the future of work, please influence your kids to think about the work of the future. And that is more interesting. So to show you how data leads to wisdom, data are just raw information. But when you add colors into those data, they become information. And when you can join up everything together, they become knowledge. And when you can see 2 furthest points, you see some insights. If you can draw a line that links two furthest points, you get wisdom before anybody else. So let's forget about conspiracy theory because that is meant to be a joke. But what we want is wisdom of the future. Last but not least, we need to focus on customer experience. It is a new word. No longer are we talking about customer service. Customer service is what the companies is doing. Customer experience is what the customers are actually feeling. So right now, we need to learn a few things. We need to study what other people are doing, thinking, and feeling. They are our customers. They are the basis for innovation. So what is that going to do with our kids? May I humbly suggest a few things that we need to provide fresh experience. We need to learn how to give our client, our future customers, immersive experience, and that requires virtual reality. We also need augmented flexibility so that people can have the option to choose what they want to control with the options that they have. So if I want to buy a house, I want to have a scanner where I can choose where I want to place the furniture before I decided to buy the house. And today, if you're wonderful, you can speak one language, Bahasa Malaysia, and then you translate it to Chinese immediately over at the other end. So it will be wonderful if your kids, if they are linguists, if they really have a gift about learning abilities, about language, and if they love computer science, this is one sector that they have to invest their time in because we need a lot of natural language processing engineers to make language easier to understand. Machine today are learning language faster than human being. And there's no such thing now as 9-to-5 jobs. It's around the clock. So what about chatbots? Chatbots don't complain. Chatbots don't ask for overtime pay. Chatbots can handle 1 million people at the same time. So if your kids love programming, if your kids love customer service, then humanize the program, humanize chatbots. And that is the next generation of chatbots. It's very humanized. So if you have children who love to connect with others and who are very good interpersonal skills, that may be an area that you want to focus on. So this is what I mean. This is a fun illustration. I'm sure all of us parents will identify with that. You can buy a toy, you love it, you think your kids will love it, but your baby sitting at the baby cot will see the backside of your toy spinning round and round above their head. No wonder they really start crying. Okay, so just to recap, we had touched on S, self-leadership, U, unleash the power of technology, R, review your data transformation, what you need to survive in the future, F, focus on customer experience. I want to end this keynote with 7 closing thoughts. Number 1, automation does not replace jobs. It replaces tasks. But if your jobs are made up of many tasks, they will be replaced, even though it has to do with cognitive intervention. So make sure that our job is meaningful. It doesn't just have only tasks. Second point, the real driver for innovation is customer satisfaction and expectation. So likewise for the school keep on improving because parents are now more demanding. You guys have expectation. You guys want the best for your kids, and ISP is ready. ISP is ready for the next future. And ISP is really about innovation. And I think just by stepping up and do a webinar, do a town hall with parents, it's a great step forward. And I think this is what transformation is all about. Engagement with the community through any means, even though we are in a lockdown, even though we are in a COVID crisis right now. The AI is our friend. It makes our life easier and it helps us to find new meaning to work. Ask yourself this question. Will you want to do routine work that is over and over again the same day? Or would you like to spend your time thinking about the future, enhancing what you can do on a routine basis? Imagine you can have a discussion with your robot, and your robot takes in all your information and now become more human, that they can have a discussion with you. In the future, all leaders will be working with human beings, robots, chatbots, and systems. and the workplace is really different. Now, some of you may say, how can that happen? But let me exhort you, the less emotional you are, the faster you can manage technology. Why do I say that? Anybody remember in 2016, Alphago, which is the company that is actually the software that's built by DeepMind, bought by Google, they developed a program to play Go, the chess of Go. In Chinese, we call it Weiqi. And they have many experts, many engineers to merge the skill of Go with programming. And they invited the world #1 player, the 9th-time player, Li Sito, to play 5 games with the machine in 2016. Now, guess what's the score? The score is computer 4, Li Soto 1. He lost the first 3. He was so confident. He lost the first 3. He was so stressed every game. After every game, he has to answer to the world, all the journalists who are interviewing him. Why did you lose the game? What happened? So he had a hard time and he's very stressful. He lost 3. Now, there are 5 games. The organizer decided to play on. So at game 4, when he has already lost the series, he played loose. He played like he has nothing to lose. And guess what? He won game 4 with an amazing move, what is called a move 78. It was so creative, it confuses the computer. It confused the computer. So he won. That's a lesson for us. When you have nothing to lose, you will win. When you're relaxed, you think better. So even machine can learn from human being. All right. And what is the cost of doing nothing? Simple. We lose a lot of things. We lose everything. We lose our future. We lose our grip. And the longer we wait, the more we have to chase the wagon. Last 2 points. Lifelong learning is compulsory. We parents got to learn not only how to be a better parents, but how to be a smarter parents, how to be a mentor for our kids in the future. We have to be a coach for our kids in the future. We also have to be the mastermind core group members for our future for the kids. So our kids need our support because there's one thing that no technology can replace, and that is your mentoring. Not your work experience, your mentoring, your view about life and how they should conduct themselves. So in essence, ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to say digital transformation is not about technology. It is a strategy for the future. And what is the future? Is it the future of work or the work of the future? I want to show you this second last slide. There are a lot of jobs in the future that you will never heard of. Have you heard of an active listener? Have you heard of a data sense maker? Have you heard of a cultural translator? Have you heard of a new diversity officer? Have you heard of an intelligence reduction specialist, ideas broker, purpose agent? All these jobs are not created yet, but they'll be there because they manage different aspects of the workplace. In essence, there will be no such thing as a job, just multiple roles. Are our children ready for the next future? One last skill they need to know is personal branding. It is not for celebrity. It is for everyone. Everybody, including you and I, we have personal brand. If you don't brand yourself, others will do it for you. That others, it's what we call perception. So if you have identity without visibility, if you have a lot of substance without a form, you are the world's best kept secret. So let's have everything. We know who we are. We strategize to the future, for the future, and we know how to tell our stories. So let's work together to inculcate the value of lifelong learning to our kids. And once again, my name is Andrew Chow. Ideas Andrew. You can keep in touch with me in all the platforms. I have the same handle, and it's really nice to be with all of you guys. So I will take any question you have right now. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having me. So are there any questions?
I think they're still trying to absorb all the great information that you just shared, Andrew.
Sure. You can connect with me or you can send your question to the school. I'll be very glad to connect with all of you. Please join me on LinkedIn. Oh, that's a question. I'm not sure whether that's for me.
Education for children. How exactly do schools do all this, and how should that education for children change to adapt to the future?
Yeah.
I think as the school principals present how the schools have adapted, you'll get more information
Sure.
on how ISP is looking forward to this. A bit of that would have to do with Andy Nicol's presentation as well. So.
Sure. Okay, maybe I share a little bit about my perspective before I go. Is that okay? I think
Yes, go ahead, Andrew.
I think every school today, whether it's an international school, a private school, a government school, needs to paint a right picture of the future. I think the syllabus should change every 2 years because 24 months is like a lifetime in this era. So everything is disruptive, get uncomfortable. So if you have to change something in the work itself, I think we have to accept it. Parents have to accept it. And everything is in a compressed timeline. So today we're no longer having 1 week. So 1 week in a COVID era was like 1 month in the past. And 1 month in the COVID era is like 1 quarter in the past. So everything is compressed time. Everything, I think today, the essence is not hybrid learning. I think the essence is also self-learning. I think kids have to adopt the adult learning attitude towards everything. The kids have to ask more questions, and the person who encourage them will be parents. And that's my take. And how to work together with the school. We can't expect the school to do everything. I hope I answered your question, Poon Siong. Thank you. I'll now hand the time back to our MC, and thanks for having me.
Thanks, Andrew.
Andrew, thank you so much for that thought leadership session. It was immensely thought-provoking. I think we'll all take away the acceleration of transformation. If things weren't moving quickly before, they certainly are now, given COVID, this acceleration of transformation. And I think that's why, in our schools, we have a focus continually and relentlessly on learning. Doesn't matter what curriculum you're studying, doesn't matter where you're studying, it's about having that focus on learning. Because given that 70% of our students who come into our schools today will end up working in jobs that we can't even imagine yet, learning is the only thing we can, as parents and as schools in partnership, that we can focus on for the future success of our children. So, when they're learning and they're focused on learning, our children are more creative, they're more adaptable, they're more resilient. And those are the kind of things, the kind of skills, the kind of competencies that employers and the future need. So very thought-provoking, Andrew. Thank you so much for the presentation, and that was very stimulating. Thanks. So now we're going to get, it's a segue now into our session where we're going to break out into our schools. So if we can have the next slide, please. At ISP here in Malaysia, we have got something for everybody. The most obvious thing as the largest schools group here is we have a variety of locations. So whether you're in the north in Penang, or you're in the south in Johor Bahru, or you're in Ipoh, or you're somewhere in the Klang Valley, we have options for you. We have options that are different by curriculum type. So we have an international and the Malaysian national curriculum. We support learning for all stages, from toddlers up until A-level, so A-level students. We have small schools, we have large schools, we have boarding schools. We've got something literally for everyone here in Malaysia. And if we move on to the next slide, I thought it'd be useful at this stage, before I introduce our campus principals, just to give you a sense of our locations here in the Klang Valley. So I think we're all fairly familiar with some of the traffic challenges in Malaysia, which I think have probably improved in recent events given COVID. But we've got schools here in Malaysia, here in the Klang Valley, that meet your location needs as well. So we have our school Setia Eco Hill, the Tenby School in Semenyih. We have Tenby Tropicana Aman in Kota Kemenang. We have Tenby Setia Eco Park in Shah Alam. and we have the Asia Pacific School in Subang. So we've got literally schools, everywhere, convenient for you as parents in the Klang Valley as well. So now I'm just going to go on to the next slide, thanks. And it's now my time to introduce my colleagues, our principals. I think as ISP here in Malaysia, we are immensely blessed to have such a talented, dedicated and experienced and tenured group of principals leading our schools here in Malaysia. It's an absolute pleasure to work with such a talented team, and they're going to spend some time introducing their talented teams within our schools when we break out into those sessions. So as I introduce my colleagues, they will magically appear at the bottom of your screen. So I'd like to start with Mr. Lee. There he is.
I was
There he
here.
is.
So there's Lee. We have Ms. John, our campus principal in Penang.
Morning, everybody.
There we go. And we have Ian jumped the gun then, Mr. Ian, our campus principal, Tenby Setuiko Park.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Twitchy fingers, sorry.
And Mr. Liam, campus principal at our school, Tenby Setuiko Gardens.
Good morning, everyone. Here I am.
And we'll introduce you to our third Andrew, or Andy of the morning, is Mr. Andy, campus principal at Tenby Setuiko Hill.
Good morning, everyone.
Ms. Jane, the campus principal at Tenby Tropicana Aman.
Hello, good morning.
And last but not least, Mr. Rob, the executive principal for the Asia Pacific Schools. Good morning, Rob.
Good morning.
So I think it's now time for me to hand back to Chris, who will just give you a few details about the breakout sessions. It's been a pleasure to connect with our parents and our partners and our colleagues in schools this morning. I'd like to thank Andrew Chow again for his thought leadership presentation. Very stimulating in terms of the pace of change and some of the key areas we need to be thinking about. And we remain available as ISP to support parents with any questions or any needs they have around information about our schools going forward. So thank you again for this morning, and I'll hand back to Chris. Thank you.